Being a savage competitor, we want to remind ourselves of how fierce and ferocious we can actually be at certain times. And we've all had that. We've all unlocked that side of us, especially us ambitious people that are trying to improve our wellness and performance. When we get locked in on something, right, we can become almost vicious in our ability to, be steadfast and move forward towards the goals that we're trying to seek. The challenge is staying there, right? A lot of times we get really, really high, and it makes it really, really hard for us to sustain that level as this savage competitor, right? But we need to remember that we have that side of ourselves, but also we need to remember that we have this gritty gamer side, right? And the reason I left this in there, and every time everybody sees this, they kind of laugh at me, right? Or they laugh at it, right? What's a gritty gamer? Right? And basically, I had it as a gritty grinder at one point, but grinder doesn't always have the best connotation. So I changed it. And I like the idea of being a gamer. Now, today, this is one of the things, even with these young kids that I work with, they're talking about Riz and Skibbity, Ohio, and the Sigma and all these different things, right? That the grind and the game and all of these things mean different things to these guys, right? So being a gamer, you might think of the idea of somebody sitting in their gaming chair, just playing some video game for 12 hours a day. That's not the type of gamer I'm talking about. Even though some of the best gamers in the video industry are some of the most savage competitors and are training just as hard as professional athletes these days. I encourage you to look into that because it's pretty amazing, actually. And but a gamer is somebody that's game, right? That enjoys the game, and not to be redundant, I'm saying it repetitively on purpose, right? Because so much of this is a game, right? And there's the infinite game and there's the finite game, and we'll talk about that more. And there's books written about it, but life is basically a game, right? So the question always is how are you playing it, right? Are you a gritty gamer? Right. And I think most of you are. So it's one of the reasons I put that in there. And I think it resonates with you. And that it also reminds you, oh, right, let's not take myself so seriously here. Right. Haha, I'm a gritty gamer. I enjoy doing this. I'm here to have fun. I'm here to express my God-given gifts and be on this adventure. Right. Versus being on this grinding for grind's sakes. Right. But the one thing that I'm here to do is to prove that I'm not just a talker, right? That's why I'm here, right? I'm not here for me to sit here and just repeat mantras and try to reinforce who I am and fake it till I make it and end up with imposter syndrome. I'm here to step forward and actually improve my self-efficacy by walking the walk.
So, two things I never thought I'd hear you say. Gamers are athletes and Riz.
Right? Yeah, that's why, dude, I'm dialed in, dude. So I'm back to a point where I have this so clearly defined and well aligned for me that I'm just absolutely in love with it. And it's something that I just want to tell everybody about, right? So when I originally started my YouTube channel years back, I was in that same mentality, right? This is, we're looking at 2010 or so. I had been through all this really high level training. I grew up so blue collar. I never had access to the best of the best. And then the next thing I know, there I am working with Carson Palmer and all these elite athletes, Hylese Fountain, at the University of Cincinnati, right? And one of my missions at the time was, well, how do you take that elite level and bring it back to a place where I grew up in Butler, Pennsylvania, and all my experiences, even at Gannon University, we just did not have access to those resources. Now you flash forward to now, I get it, the economics behind it, but I didn't get it when I first started out. And I thought I could just be an evangelist and just, beat my fist in the air and tell everybody about it and change the world, which I do think at this point, my efforts of being an advocate did make an impact. And just even leading by example, other people see that and they go, yeah, and I've heard this actually from people in my past, yeah, I know, I saw you out there doing that. And it gave me the courage to go do something that I was a bit afraid to do. But I knew how you used to be before you got started on this. And if you could do it, I could do it too. And that was one of the things that just kept me motivated and going in the right direction. And now coming back to 2024, right, I've just been so reinvigorated by this idea of the strong angle and what it's been doing for me and the people that I'm working with. And I've actually been really chomping at the bit to get on here and start filming this and getting this message out to you. The first draft of the book is done and it's out to the publisher. I've been working on putting it all together for the people that would actually want to take the time to read it. It's sooner than later. It's going to get converted into an audio book as well. And it's all about understanding the differences between the strong angle and the weak angle and how they can empower you and give you more preparedness so you can walk into every moment of life feeling just that much more confident and ready to take on whatever it is in front of you. Oh, I'm on fire today. I'm on fire.
That was pretty fire. I won't lie. You said something that I think kind of resonates with me as well. When people see me do something, they say, "If he can do it, I can do it." And like one thing that I'm really tuned into is Renee Girard with Mimetic Desire. I was watching a video by Wisecrack, and they talked about Christopher Nolan's directing philosophy and how The Dark Knight was basically about envy and how when we see like a corrupt society, the way it becomes corrupt, blah blah blah. But it's about wanting what another man wants and that being a motivating factor. How much do you think that applies to the strong angle and wanting to be better?
So one of the main things that you have to realize about the strong angle, and this is one of my other aha moments, like I've been listening to Joe Rogan and Peter Attia and Ben Greenfield and uh, the 4 Hour Work Week guy, Tim Ferriss and Jordan Peterson and all these people over the years, which has really, shaped my perspective on things, right? I've gotten super into reading the Bible and understanding the Christian writers. And the challenge is when you start from a place where you don't really truly know where the strong angle is, a lot of times you end up leading people to the weak angle. And if you want to be a really good leader, if you want to be the best leader that you can possibly be, you should be trying to lead people towards the strong angle. And the strong angle is this idea that in the present moment, they are aligned with the future that they're fighting for, that they have this perfect balance and harmony between tension and relaxation. Or like Daquan and I were just talking about before we came on here, this idea of balancing being in the performance zone versus being in the recovery zone. So typically we think of this as having four zones, where in the top right quadrant is the performance zone, where we have this high energy, optimal mindset. We're in the zone, we're in the flow state. In the bottom right, we have this recovery zone where we're relaxed, that wine and dine type of scenario, where we got the Normatec boots on and we're chilling, right? Then on the top left, you have the survival or fight or flight zone, right? And in that zone is one of the areas where we mistake being in that zone. We mistake and think that we're actually over here in the performance zone. And so this is where you got the David Goggins situation that's like, we got to get hyped up right now, all that type of stuff, right? And it actually it puts you into a negative mindset and overly stresses you, which drops you down into the bottom left quadrant, which is the burnout zone. And one of the reasons why I actually got into this and focused on this particular part of it in this diagram, in this chart, is because the research is showing that in the bottom left, in the burnout zone, the injury rates increase. And it's like, well, it makes a lot of sense. But what people don't realize is the thing that's putting them in the burnout zone is going into the survival and fight or flight response, drops them into the burnout zone so much that they're staying in this and they're not getting enough of the recovery zone. And then you got to go, well, why does that happen, right? Most people, they love what they do when they get into sports, and you see this all the time. How are people getting so burnt out? Right. Well, they start losing the sense of their alignment with the future that they're fighting for. They start forgetting about their why, particularly in the present moment. They start forgetting that their God-given gifts are the reason why they're actually able to do what they're doing that is causing them the stress. And then on top of it, they're usually more focused on the outcome and also what people are going to think about the outcome than just coming back to the present moment and focusing on their performance and their process and their preparedness to perform what they can actually control. right? So again, you're starting to think about the part that you can't control, about what you don't have, and losing sight of what you actually do have. And this is where the gratitude comes in. So if I'm grateful for my God-given gifts, right, it allows me to remember and go, oh yeah, that's why I'm here. This is why I do what I do, right? And I'm positioned and aligned in this present moment exactly where I want to be because I love what I do and this is the future that I'm fighting for, right? But the conundrum is this balance where you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater, where the strong angle can't exist without the weak angle, right? And entropy can't exist without syntropy, and vice versa. And they're not to necessarily be demonized, but to be recognized so you can understand how to control your life. And really, what this is about, right, is controlling your emotions and your body, the physiology of your body, so they're not controlling you. So a lot of these things in the past have been biased, and I'm not going to get into it 100% right now, but have been biased towards entropy. So entropy is chaos and disorder, but the math behind chaos and disorder is easier to understand than the math behind syntropy, which basically you got 2 plus 2 equals 4. That's math that describes entropy, basically. Then in syntropy, you have love plus passion plus purpose. What does that equal? Right. And I actually had this conversation with my son the other day, and he just got frustrated with. He's like, "That's not real math." Right. And so we are moving into this era where we understand that logical intelligence has gotten us to where we're at. Emotional intelligence is this next revolution that we're having, but we're not fully integrating and unifying them into one thing, which is what they really are and what they're intended to be. Because when we learn things, we like to break them down and reduce them to their parts. But a lot of times when we reduce them to their parts and study the crap out of them, we forget to reintegrate them back in, which is again what human life is all about.